In movie set, a group of people sat nearby, prepared and ready. These were the supporting cast members, and among them was our main protagonist. As he walked towards the scene of the shooting, some people behind him noticed something wrong with the roof. Suddenly, a small pebble fell onto our protagonist's head. Despite the shouts of warning from the others, it was too late. He looked up and the roof collapsed. The concrete and iron railings fell onto him. He got gravely injured and was slipping into unconsciousness. In his last thoughts, he wished that if he were to be born again, he would want to be the protagonist, not a nameless extra. Time passed, and in an apartment somewhere, a 7-month-old infant named Seo Jun lay in his crib. Seo Jun and his parents, Lee Min, Jun, and Yoon Hai, were playing with him. And as his father tried to make him remember his face, the boy smiled and babbled. His cute smile caused his mother's heart to flutter. As Yoon Hai commented on their son's cuteness, Min Jun nodded fervently. However, Seo Jun was sleepy and babbled something as he fell asleep, looking even cuter. His parents lulled him to sleep, and Seo Jun slipped into a different world. This world was a world of memories. Seo Jun was in this life library, where his memories and abilities from past lives were stored in books. They were stored behind closed doors, heavy and tight. He could only open the doors that his current physical bodies can handle. Seo Jun tried to open a large black door, but it didn't budge. Using a body below the required threshold to absorb knowledge would destroy the body. He imagined a slime reading a book, and since the knowledge was too much for the slime, it got flattened. He concluded that the slime was foolish and gave up on the big black door. The library reshaped itself to present the doors he could open. There was a small blue door which led to the library that was formed in his life as a slime. The foolish slime he thought of before was actually himself. Normally, he would have already opened the door and entered the slow development of a human child frustrated Seo Jun, but he noticed a small door next to the blue one. This was the first time he had seen this door. Seo Jun opened the small door and found a single black book inside. He put his head inside the door to reach the book, but as he took it out, he bumped his head on the door, which angered him. However, he had the book and opened it to see its contents. It talked about Wherever Reborn. This was his first life, and it contained the most important memories of that life. Seo Jun thought back on his life and realized there was no time when he had lived as earnestly as he did. Then, with the memories of his first life back, he decided that he should become an actor. But why stop there? He should become a superstar. To become a superstar, he knew he had to do several things since he had been born. The first thing he did was to consistently practice the breathing of an elf. This harmonized the body and made it shine, which was why he appeared excessively cute to everyone. For now, he could only open the door for the life when he was a slime. CEO Jun remembered that time he was a tiny slime who had gotten too close to a dragon while searching for food. The dragon, half asleep, yawned, which was more than enough to destroy the slime. 3 days after that, Seo Jun was reborn in his current body. Thinking about that irritated Seo Jun, he picked up 2 books. One about the time he was a slime, and the other about a fairy. A slime could melt into acid, extend tentacles, and change shape. As CEO Jun read the second book, he remembered the time when he was a mischievous flower fairy. He thought that the stunning looks of a fairy would be useful for an actor, but it was not feasible if the flower died, if the fairy would die with it. Most of the books did not interest Seo Jun, so he browsed through them to find something useful. He found an ability called Slime's Digestion, a low-grade ability that could digest anything and convert it into the nutrients needed by the body. There was also the Fairy's Wand, another low-grade item. It could grab the attention of those who could see fairies, and if he shook the wand while being seen, the people watching would mimic his actions. Seo Jun thought these 2 abilities would be useful and simulated the slime's digestion into his body. Then he took the Fairy's Wand and assimilated it into his hand. He was surprised to see it engraved on his palm, not his fingers. But it was fine, because it would still work just fine. Seo Jun closed his fist, and when he opened it, the fairy's wand in his hand began to glow. His baby instincts kicked in, and he started playing around with his hands. Seo Jun was now in a daycare facility, playing with a strange and creepy-looking doll. While other, more normal toys lay around, he was with other kids and their moms. One woman commented that Seo Jun must eat well since he looked so healthy. Her daughter Ji Yoon hadn't eaten anything even that day and was on the underweight side. Suddenly, Seo Jun started crying because he was hungry. His mother got up, almost forgetting it was feeding time. Seeing Seo Jun cry, the other kids also began to cry. A crying baby concert started, and the mothers were flustered as they rushed to bring baby formula and water. Seo-jun wondered if he had cried for no reason, but he knew that if he didn't cry, he wouldn't get fed on time. He received his formula milk and began to drink it peacefully. However, the other kids who started crying because of him did not eat or drink anything. Their mothers tried to get to eat something, but there was no result because of the crying. Seo-jun's mother took him to a corner so he could eat peacefully. While drinking milk, he thought to check out his power. Then he faced his palm towards the babies and made it shine. The fairy's wand was activated, and since young children could see everything, their attention was grabbed. They all started looking at Seo-jun with curious eyes, and their mothers were also surprised. Then Seo-jun shook his hand, and the fairy's wand along with it. The other kids tried to copy him, and as Seo-jun suckled on the formula milk, they did too. Their mothers were shocked and amazed as everyone was following Seo-jun and properly eating their food. They said Seo-jun was amazing, and one woman said this could be called the baby world's mukbang. After a while, a woman approached Yoon Hai and asked if she could record a video of Seo-jun eating and send it to her. Her daughter Ji-yoon was smaller than kids her age. Because she did not eat well, even the hospital had recommended feeding her more. The woman started crying and Yoon Hai said Seo-jun was bigger than kids his age because he ate a lot. Seeing her mother cry, Ji-yoon also started to cry, and Seo-jun got irritated. He thought unnecessary crying, even when one was not hungry, came from a bad mood. To stop it, he used the fairy's wand, but instead of Ji-yoon, he caught everyone else's attention. The kids swarmed Seo-jun, and he was overwhelmed. At home, Yoon Hai told Min-jun that everyone copied Seo-jun and ate their food at daycare. That day, Min-jun also found it interesting. And then Yoon Hai said they had also called their son the mukbang star of the baby world. But right now, Seo-jun had a slime toy in his hand and was using it to hit a dragon toy. This was his revenge for his past life. His father was concerned that they should stop him from doing that. Yoon Hai, on the other hand, thought it was fine. Seo-jun was really kind in real life. She told Min-jun that Seo-jun had been briefly flattened by the babies today, but he did not hit anyone and stayed still. Min-jun was shocked upon hearing it, but Yoon Hai said it was not violent. Seo-jun was just so popular that everyone gathered around him. Seo-jun was playing with his toys, and his mother asked if he was excited. Seo-jun shook his hands in excitement, thinking about having revenge on the dragon that killed him earlier. Yoon Hai then told Min-jun that she had already recorded Seo-jun drinking the formula, and now they would have to record him eating baby food. His dad started recording him, and Seo-jun had known exactly where the camera was. He followed it attentively as his mother prepared to feed him. He remembered that he had to use the fairy's wand. Seo-jun had considered that shaking one arm while eating might look suspicious, but he had also never lifted both arms and shook them while eating. Both situations seemed weird to him. Seo-jun thought it didn't really matter. He shook his hands, and Yoon Hai was confused, wondering what he was so excited about. She asked if the food was tasty, and Seo-jun gave a positive reply in his baby words. All three of them were happy, and the recording concluded. Yoon Hai sent the recorded videos to Ji-yoon's mom, who was happy to receive them. After a few minutes, Yoon Hai received a message from her stating that Ji-yoon had eaten all her food after 2 weeks. She was thanking Yoon Hai and Seo-jun because the recorded videos had improved Ji-yoon's diet. The hospital had complimented them, and it didn't end there. Other moms had also reported that their kids now ate better thanks to Seo-jun. Seeing their mother's laughter, the kids also laughed. Seo-jun was also impressed with this. The fairy's wand ability had proven effective, even through recorded videos. He thought that if that was the case, it would be easier for him to become a superstar. Seo-jun was happy, and he hugged his licking doll. But this creeped out the other kids, so they kept their distance from him. Then, a woman named Min-ju asked Yoon Hai if she would be fine with uploading Seo Jun videos to YouTube. She explained that she used YouTube to upload videos of her daughter and had accidentally mentioned online that her daughter Mina was eating well these days. Yoon Hai said it was still fine since she didn't take Seo Jun name. But Min Ju replied that because of that, she had received a lot of comments from parents about the secrets to making their babies eat their food. She hadn't talked about Seo Jun videos, but had mentioned the food brands and recipes that they used. It was the same for everyone in the daycare. They all used the elephant brand. The woman asked Yoon Hai to consider this. If she uploaded those videos, she would be helping a lot of fellow mothers. Yoon Hai understood where she was coming from, but wasn't sure about putting Seo Jun face on the internet. If Seo Jun could talk, she would ask him, and she didn't know that he would immediately agree to. As she looked at Seo Jun, she found him playing with the Lit King doll. She couldn't make a decision and said that she would like to consult with her husband first. The woman who suggested the idea also said that it would be nice to give it a lot of thought. In an office building, Min Jun was watching a picture of Seo Jun holding an orc doll. He thought that his son was growing up too quickly. Someone approached him from behind and recognized Seo Jun. This person was the one who gave him the orc doll, and he was glad to see that Seo Jun still liked it. He was Kim. He sang a mutual friend of Min, Jun and Yoon Hai. Min Jun had a headache just by thinking about it, and he laughed when he gave that toy. He thought that Seo Jun would cry upon seeing it, but instead of crying, he took a liking to the toy. Then he started playing with only the scary toys and discarded what would appeal to normal kids. This was a shock to both Min Jun and he sang. Shortly after that, Yoon Hai he sang an earful about the types of toys one should give an infant. He said that Seo Jun really had unique tastes, and Min Jun said that the orc doll had become a mandatory doll. Now, Min Jun started showing his friend the videos of Seo Jun eating food and asked why Seo Jun was waving his hands. Min Jun said that he was really excited to eat, but he didn't think that was the case. He said that maybe Seo Jun liked the camera and was waving his hands because that excited him. Min Jun hadn't thought of this before, and he saw that this was a good explanation too. Back at home, Min Jun was playing with Seo Jun. He was playing the role of Lich King and it wasn't a surprise that the person who gave him that script was he sang. Seo Jun was really happy, but Min Jun decided that these dialogues were far too cringy for him to say out loud. But Seo Jun grabbed the piece of paper and handed it to his father again. Min Jun had no choice but to keep acting, and he read the lines, but he didn't put in any effort, and Seo Jun booed him. Yoon Hai laughed and said that their son wanted him to put more emotion into his dialogue, but Min Jun wasn't amused. Yoon Hai said that Seo Jun also liked to play with. He sang a lot. Seo Jun was getting irritated that his father was talking with his mother and not paying attention to him. He made an irritated sound, and Min Jun got back to playing with him. The game ended, and the Lich King was defeated. Seo Jun was still a kid, and sometimes a child's instincts overpowered his brain. He was also happy that he won and thought he was cool. Yoon Hai then asked her husband about uploading the video, but she was concerned if Seo Jun wouldn't like it when he grew up. Min Jun laughed and said it was no big deal. It was just a video of his childhood, and by the time Seo Jun grew up, it would be forgotten. Yoon Hai was still worried, and Min Jun told her about what he heard from he sang. There was a possibility that Seo Jun liked being in front of a camera. Normally, he was very calm and eating, but when they did it with a camera, he got excited and shook his arms too. But still, there was a question in Yoon Hai's mind. Min Jun said that Seo Jun was babbling about his acting not being good earlier, and they both suddenly realized something. Min Jun said that their son would be really amazing if he realized his acting was bad. Yoon Hai said that Seo Jun couldn't even understand what he heard right now, and Seo Jun thought that he could. Min Jun was excited and said that their son was a genius, and Yoon Hai also agreed. The father was really excited and thought they should get Seo Jun into acting. Yoon Hai took this as an affirmation from her husband to upload Seo Jun's videos on YouTube. Min Jun said it was fine as it had worked earlier too, and if it helped some more mothers, it would be a good thing. Yoon Hai contacted her friend Min Ju and told her that she was going to upload the video. Her friend told her to create a channel with a name and add videos with titles in both English and Korean. Min Jun thought that if they had to name the channel in English, they should simply call it Seo Jun, but they ended up naming their channel June and uploaded the 2 videos. But what happened next changed their entire life. The video became a global hit in just a few hours. Mothers all across the world showed it to their infants, and they ate their food properly. After that, Seo-jun's father was carrying him into their living room, and the loud sounds of notifications filled the room. Min-jun asked Yoon-hae why so many messages were coming, and even Seo-jun found them too loud. Yoon-hae was also overwhelmed and muted the notifications for the time being. At first, she thought only those who knew Seo-jun were messaging her, but then her friend Min Ju asked her to go and check her YouTube channel because something even crazier was happening there. Seo-jun was hungry, but when he heard about YouTube, he decided to delay his crying for a bit. Seo-jun had known about YouTube from his previous life. He understood that even non-celebrities could become famous on this platform. As Min-jun and Yoon-hae watched the videos and the comment events they were shocked and even scared. The videos of Seo-jun eating had garnered over 1 million likes in just one night. Min-ju called Yoon-hae, who asked her in disbelief how this had happened. Min-jun, equally excited, replied that Seo-jun had become a star overnight.
Caught it, and said that Seo-jun should have told him if he had finished eating. Seo-jun babbled something, and Min-jun said that's how he should have called him when he finished his food. But Yoon-hae said that her husband was expecting too much from an 8-month-old baby. Min-jun insisted that their son was a genius, and that he understood everything. He started burping. Seo-jun and Yoon-hae said that every parent thought their kid was a genius, but Min-jun was confident that Seo-jun was a real genius. In another place, a notification popped up. Someone had received a message that the person they had cast in their advertisement had uploaded a YouTube video. In this video, she proclaimed that babies were finishing their food because of baby mukbang, not due to their products. The woman receiving these messages was already exhausted, and upon reading them, she was left stupefied. She was Choi Hyun-ji, the head of the Elephant series planning team. Min-ju, who used the name Lala as a YouTube personality, had recently been endorsing Elephant brand baby food. Due to her influence, sales were on the rise, and even a shopping mall for overseas deliveries had sold out. The orders kept coming, so much so that the company had ramped up its production. However, now a large inventory was accumulating in their warehouses, potentially remaining unsold. Hyunji was worried, fearing she might lose her job over this. These days, YouTubers who cater to a specific market are better suited to advertise certain products. That's why Hyunji decided to collaborate with Min-ju. She had been planning to cast Min-ju and her daughter in a commercial for the Elephant series. Driven by her curiosity, she visited Seo-jun's channel and watched his videos. He was undoubtedly adorable, but she couldn't believe that his videos were the reason why babies were finishing their food. She clicked on more links, and there they were videos of other children eating. While watching Seo-jun enjoy his meal, Hyunji was determined. She messaged the sales lead, suggesting a commercial with Seo-jun. She thought of Seo-jun and decided to ask him for help. She was hopeful that this new direction could turn things around and move the leftover inventory from the warehouses. Seo-jun home. Someone had brought him a teddy bear as a gift. But Min-jin wasn't sure if the teddy bear was a normal toy, considering that the one who brought it was Hee-sang. Hee-sang smiled, and assured him that it was completely normal. He also mentioned that he had been watching Seo-jun videos, and in one of them he saw a double-headed troll doll in the background. Min-jin was shocked there was such a dangerous toy in a video for kids. Hee-sang told his friend that the troll was in the baby food version. Min-jin handed over Seo-jun to Hee-sang and began looking for the troll in the video, but this was a trick. Seo-jun wasn't satisfied with a regular doll from Hee-sang and tried to tell him. Hee-sang said that he had underestimated his uncle too much. He opened up a zipper in the bear's belly, and Seo-jun was shocked by what he did next. Hee-sang took out a small, creepy-looking toy and said that this was a doppelganger. He was amazed the toy was a bear, but with a twist, and he thought that Uncle Hee-sang was amazing. Hee-sang asked Seo-jun to keep it a secret, and he babbled in agreement, but Min-jun had watched the entire video and hadn't found the two-headed troll. He asked Hee-sang where it was and realized that he had been fooling around with him. The scene then shifts, and we see Seo-jun's mom is discussing something with her friend. They were discussing about which commercial advertisement they should do. Yoon-hae mentioned that Seo-jun liked the Elephant series formula. She had tried many different products, but it was Seo-jun's favorite. Other mothers also said that their children liked it. It was organic and good value for money. Yoon-hae thought that since everyone thought it was a good idea, they should collaborate with the Elephant brand. She went home home and asked her husband, who instantly agreed. The next day, Seo-jun and Yoon-hae were waiting for him to come back, and he was late. But then the door opened and Min-jun came in smiling. He had gotten the contract. Min-jun was a bit too excited and tried to kiss Seo-jun, but the latter dodged him. Yoon-hae also told him to wash up because he smelled of alcohol. After washing up, Min-jun explained the conditions of the advertisement. The shooting would take about 30 minutes while Seo-jun was eating. If they needed extra footage, they would shoot it later. That shooting would be done only after he had digested his food. But Yoon-hae was concerned if shooting within 30 minutes would be possible. Min-jun said that people from the company were saying that it was fine. As long as it was like the YouTube videos, they would take care of editing and other things. The commercial would be first uploaded to YouTube and then aired on TV. The duration of the advertisement had been approximately 3 months. Yoon-hae had also thought that the conditions were quite good. Min-jun had shown the contract to his lawyer friend, who assured him that the contract was fine, and there were no hidden clauses. They all agreed they should do the advertisement. Even Seo-jun had nodded his head in agreement. They believed that Seo-jun also liked the idea, and there were no more doubts lingering in their minds. Then Yoon-hae had poured red paint on a plate. Min-jun had asked her what it was for. She took Seo-jun's thumb, dipped it in the paint, and then she had smiled, saying that since it was Seo-jun commercial, he should sign it as well. Min-jun decided that they should take a picture to commemorate this event. He had clicked a picture of Seo-jun putting his thumbprint on the contract. Afterward, they had clicked a family photo with the three of them. Seo-jun was now in the library, wondering which ability he should choose. He had looked into a lot of books, but had found nothing useful for the shoot. This time, he needed an ability that worked on adults who wanted to buy something. He had then noticed a book that had been there the whole time. Seo-jun had been happy as he read it, knowing that it would help him with the shoot the next day. On the following day, the family had arrived at the set for the commercial, and Hyunji had greeted them. She had shown them around the studio and the set, which was quite similar to their house. Hyunji had shown them to the waiting room and asked them to rest while the preparations were being done. After Hyunji left, Yoon-hae and Min-jun had talked about how much they had prepared. The set was designed like their living room, and there were cute dolls around, but they were still concerned about whether Seo-jun would like it. He had been still holding on to the bear that he sang gave him, and hadn't shown interest in other toys. But then he placed his hand on his stomach, and hoped that it would go well. There was a glowing symbol in his stomach, a sign of an ability he didn't have before. He felt nervous. His head was heavy, so his parents got him ready for the shoot. In a completely different world, some children asked their grandpa to tell them the story of the brave man. The old man was partially deaf, and after he finally understood their request, he told them the story. The story was a real one, and it took place when he was only a bit younger than these children. One day when he was playing around in a forest, he found a chest under a tree. It was really pretty, and he took it to the village. Everyone else was also mesmerized by the box and interested in what was inside it. But when they opened the box, they found that it was a monster, a mimic. No one knew what a mimic was, and they were curious about it. They named it Miming and treated it like family. And when Miming took the form of a chest, the old man, who was just a child back then, wanted to open it. The children told him that it was Miming and not a chest, and he just laughed. He shared his food with Miming and played with it, but he always fell for Miming's trick when he transformed into a chest. A few years later, a wounded warrior came to their village. He told them about a high-ranking demon hiding nearby and wanted the help of the villagers to defeat it. But the villagers knew that they were not capable of fighting alongside the warrior. Just then, Miming walked into the place and the warrior drew his sword. He asked why there was a Miming in this place, and the boy told him that Miming was a friend. Even as the warrior told him to put down the dangerous monster found only in the dungeons, the boy refused. He said that Miming was not dangerous, only a bit mischievous. But Miming jumped out of his grasp and transformed into a chest in front of the warrior. Even the warrior was charmed by his trick. He found the chest so pretty that he couldn't help but open it. He wondered what was inside it, and he wanted it. But as he opened the chest, he realized that it was just a Miming. As the warrior thought about how powerful the Miming's temptation was, he got an idea. He proposed that Miming could distract the demon, and using that chance, he would kill him. The children, hearing the story, were now concerned about Miming, and the old man also said that since everyone loved Miming, they were opposed to the plan, but Miming was brave, and he took the warrior's side. After sunset, sunset, the warrior lured the demon towards the village. When the demon saw Miming's treasure box form, he was enticed. As he held the box, he wanted its contents immediately. But just as he realized that it was a Miming, the warrior's sword had already pierced the demon's heart. The demon realized that it was a trap and was furious at Miming, so in his dying moments, he crushed it. Even as the warrior gathered his energy and killed the demon, Miming was already dead. The villagers were sad about its passing, and then, with the help of the warrior, the villagers created a fountain and a statue of Miming to thank him. The children were also emotional now, and they thanked Miming. The old man was sure that God must have allowed Miming to be reincarnated into a new life, and maybe he was charming people as they were talking about him in the mimic that charmed the villagers. The warrior and the demon was Seo-jun, and right then he was getting ready to charm people again. The shooting started, and Seo-jun was drinking formula milk. The shooting crew thought that the famous mukbang was quite ordinary up close, but it was wonder that Seo-jun was so focused despite being so young. The director was satisfied with the shot and got ready to move on to the next scene. But now Minjun was concerned that Seo-jun did not wave his hands around this time. He thought that it might be because he was holding a bottle, but it was because Seo-jun had found an even better ability than a fairy's wand. Since he could not hold many abilities in the body of a baby, he returned the fairy's wand to the library. Instead of that, he used another ability. The name of the ability was Small, mimics coveted packaging, an ability of the highest grade. Using it, Seo-jun could cause anyone to fancy a packaged object that was similar to his own size. Seo-jun thought that this ability would not be helpful when he grew up, as the size of the object must match his size. Besides, it also had some tricky conditions, but it required only a little bit of mana. As Seo-jun sat ready for the next scene, someone handed him a can of Elephant Series baby food with more cans behind him. Before the shooting, the director had explained the scene. Seo-jun had to smile while holding the tub of baby formula. Eun-hye was nervous that he couldn't do it in one try, but the director said it was within their expectations for that to happen. And now, as his parents tried to convince him to hold a tub, Seo-jun was relieved. If this sequence was not in the advertisement, he would have had to cry until they gave him a tub. Seo-jun held the tub and smiled brightly. He also used the mimic's ability. He shrouded the box in ability, and thought that parents who had babies of his age would definitely like it. And as he thought that Hyunji was already mesmerized by him, the director asked him to look at the camera and smile wide, and Seo-jun did it perfectly. The entire shooting was wrapped up in under 20 minutes. The director told Seo-jun's parents that the child was a genius, and they agreed with him. He suggested that Seo-jun take up acting even though he was just a baby. He understood everything just by instinct. The director said that he wasn't forcing Seo-jun's parents to put him in a show immediately, but they should at least think about the option. Seo-jun had everything he needed to be an actor: destiny, constitution, and instinct. The director said that even though he was only a rookie in this world, he would be happy to help them if anything came up. He gave his contact details to Seo-jun's parents, asking them to call him if they needed any help. The shooting was complete, and Hyunji and another woman came to Seo-jun and complimented him. They had also prepared some boxes as a present for him. They bid him goodbye and thanked him for doing so well. In the USA, a man was showing his son Jack Seo-jun video to make him eat his food. The boy was also excited to see the video, but then an ad started before it. The parents were curious, but it was obvious that a channel with this many views and subscribers would have ads. The ad was for Elephant Series baby food, and Jack's parents were surprised to see Seo-jun in the commercial. When they saw him holding the tub of baby food, they dropped everything and grabbed their phones. They searched online for Elephant Series baby food, and it was already sold out. They were both dejected that it was sold out as they really wanted it. This was the effect of Small Mimic's coveted packaging ability, and because of that, Seo-jun ad was a real success. The scene shifted, revealing Seo-jun's mother talking to her grandmother. She excitedly shared how well-behaved and skilled Seo-jun had been during the shooting. She also mentioned that everyone had praised him a lot. Upon seeing Seo-jun, his grandmother waved her hand at him, genuinely pleased that her grandson had become an actor at such a young age. However, she hadn't seen the ad yet because it wasn't on TV, and she didn't know how to use YouTube. Eun-hye, Seo-jun's mother, was confused and asked her mother if Chan, her younger brother, hadn't shown her. Angered that Chan hadn't bothered to show their mother the ad in which his nephew starred, Eun-hye was further annoyed when her mother mentioned that Chan had finally gotten a job. Upon hearing about it, Eun-hye became excited and asked her mother for more details. Unfortunately, her mother didn't know much either, only that it was some sort of talent management or celebrity management agency. Seo-jun, on the other hand, thought about his uncle Chan. He was big and bulky, with a rough and threatening appearance. It was hard to tell that he was his mother's brother, as they didn't look anything alike. Suddenly, Seo-jun's grandmother remembered the name of Chan's company, Coco Entertainment. It was likely that Chan was a director there, but Yoon-hai had never heard that name. After her call with her mother ended, Yoon-hai was furious. She put Seo-jun into his crib and gave him his Lick King toy to keep him quiet. Seo-jun was taken aback. His mother usually despised the Lick King, but she was about to call her brother and needed Seo-jun to remain silent so that she could scold him. She dialed his number because he had been loitering around, causing their mother to worry. He had informed her that he was forming an idol group and hadn't been home in a while. Yoon-hai's fury rose, and when Chan finally answered the phone, he identified himself as a director for Coco Entertainment. Even as Yoon-hai called him by his full name, he didn't recognize her voice. Seo-jun too wondered why his uncle wasn't recognizing his mother's voice. Yoon-hai's anger exploded and she yelled at her brother. She told him he hadn't even saved her number. Chan was stunned and realized that it was his sister on the phone. He was surprised and asked her if she'd changed her number, but Yoon-hai replied that she had changed it 3 years ago. She immediately asked him why he hadn't been coming home lately. Chan responded that he had been busy with his job. She told him their mother was worried, so he needed to make some time to visit her. She also told him to come see them later, and before anything else to save her number, Chan promised that he would then hung up. Yoon-hai was left wondering why her brother behaved this way. However, she was still happy that he had found a job. A few moments after her heated phone conversation, Yoon-hai was sorting some emails on her laptop. Someone had been persistently sending her the same email over and over again, which was quite annoying. Minjin asked her if it was an advertisement, but Yoon-hai replied that it was for Seo-jun. They wanted Seo-jun to participate in an internet broadcast show. She hadn't opened the emails yet, but her curiosity had been piqued. She opened the email and found that it was from Coco Entertainment. Seo-jun realized that was the name of his uncle's company. The email stated that they had stumbled upon Channel June while searching for kids' content and were impressed by how quickly he had become famous through baby mukbang. They hoped that Seo-jun could make an appearance on a variety show. The name at the end of the email was Chan. Min-jun reminded Yoon-hai that the director had the same name as her brother. He then saw her expression and gasped. She was so enraged and yelling so loudly that Chan couldn't even recognize his nephew when she called him. Min-jun knew it was better to stay quiet. Chan picked up her call and introduced himself. Yoon-hai immediately started talking about the email. Even as Seo-jun was about to babble something, his father silenced him. Interfering with his mother right now was too dangerous, but Seo-jun realized that the real danger was awaiting his uncle, as Chan called his sister Jun's mother, Seo-jun. Anticipation proved accurate. Chan still hadn't saved her number. Yoon-hai told Chan that she wanted to meet him to discuss the offer, and he agreed. Yoon-hai asked him to come to his sister's house, which confused Chan. He thought it was a strange name for an apartment complex, but then Yoon-hai shouted at him and told him to come to his sister's house immediately. She called him out for failing to recognize his own nephew. Chan was stunned and asked her why she was calling from a different number, but it turned out he hadn't saved her number, and he was scolded for it yet again. Chan realized that the boy from Channel June was his own nephew, and Yoon-hai was angry that he hadn't recognized Seo-jun, despite having met him just recently. She was so loud that everyone in the office heard her talking about Chan's nephew. The boys in the office began whispering amongst themselves the star baby was the director's nephew. Yet he was oblivious to this fact. Chan ended the call with okays, and the boys asked him if he was okay after talking to his sister. However, Chan was already afraid. He knew he had to go to his sister's house immediately, hoping that he would be able to return safely. Chan arrived at Yoon-hai's place and handed her a gift for Seo-jun. She asked if it was a bribe, and Chan, hesitating shamelessly, affirmed. Yoon-hai asked him to show his phone, and Chan had now saved her number. She was still angry at him, but she gave him passing marks and let him enter the house. Chan and Min-jun exchanged pleasantries, and Seo-jun was also excited to meet his uncle. More than anything, he was relieved that he had survived his mother's rage. They started talking about the video, and Chan mentioned that no one would have thought that Seo-jun would get so famous in just 1 month. However, Yoon-hai responded that this was no excuse not to recognize his own nephew. Chan replied that all babies looked pretty much the same. She was annoyed, but she told him to pick up her calls right away, and Chan promised that he would. But when she told him not to work overtime that day and go home early, he replied that it was a bit difficult. He said that he couldn't go home because the company was newly founded with a labor shortage. He had joined 3 weeks ago and was now a director and the manager. He was preparing an idol group for a debut in a month when they would make an appearance on a music program broadcast. Yoon-hai asked him how that related to his ability to go home, and Chan hesitantly replied that he would be too busy to go home until the broadcast. Yoon-hai then asked, "What about after the broadcast?" Her brother excitedly said that the group could flop and he would have a chance to go home. Everyone was horrified by this, and Chan realized his mistake. He quickly assured them that he would ensure they didn't flop. Yoon-hai asked him that if everything went well, wouldn't he get busier? Chan agreed that would probably happen, but Yoon-hai believed he could take care of himself. She asked him to stay for dinner, but he had already eaten, so they settled on coffee. All the men in the house realized that the storm had passed. Seo-jun enjoyed the snacks Chan had brought for him, finding them very tasty. In the meantime, Min-jun asked Chan about the variety show, and he explained that it was tied to the boys' idol group. They weren't popular at all, had no fans, and they only got a place on the music program as a last-minute replacement for another group. Since Chan wanted their name to grow, he thought of enlisting help from Seo-jun. Yoon-hai asked her brother if he wanted to exploit Seo-jun's popularity, and he admitted that exploit was a bit harsh, but he couldn't argue with his sister and agreed that she was right. Yoon-hai remembered that her brother had a really hard time when he was looking for jobs and not finding any. Now that he had a job, he was in high spirits, but she was worried that it might not go so well. She wanted to help him, but it wasn't the same as letting Seo-jun star in a short commercial. However, Min-jun approved, and Seo-jun also raised his hand to give his approval. Seo-jun couldn't believe his luck. He was getting a special appearance in a variety show this early, and there was no way he would refuse this opportunity. Yoon-hai was worried that a lot of people would start talking about Seo-jun after that, but Min-jun held her hands and reassured her that it was okay. They were always busy with their respective work, and this was their only chance to film their son for an entire day. They started flirting with each other, and Chan felt awkward just sitting there in the office of Coco Entertainment. Someone was analyzing the effect of the advertisement with Ko-jun. He was surprised that the products were selling out so quickly, and wondered if there was a hidden meaning for the parents. The boy was Kevin Kim, the rapper of the boy band Brown Black. He was Korean American and spoke in English. Whenever he got overwhelmed, another member complained to their leader that Kevin was speaking in English again. But the leader and main vocalist, Park Seo-jun, was already sleep-deprived and was in no mood to solve such petty things. He told the boy who complained that he should read a children's book if he had time to spare. They were preparing for a shoot with Seo-jun in 3 days, and a lot of things were yet to be done. Hwang Ye-jun, the sub-vocalist of the band, already felt sleepy when he held any book, but Jun told him that it was perfect for his level, since half of it was pictures, and the other half was simple words. There was one last member left, and he excitedly asked Jun about his task. He was Choi Shi-yoon, the main dancer of the band, and Jin gave him the task of buying a toy Seo-jun would like. Jin handed him a card, and Choi asked what the spending limit was. Jin told him that there was no limit, and Shi-yoon was overjoyed. He thought that he might buy something for himself too. But there was a condition to this task. If Seo-jun did not like the toy, Shi-yoon would not be allowed to use any electronics for quite a while, maybe even forever. The reason Jin was so desperate to make things go well was simple. The future trajectory of their boy band Brown Black might depend on this shoot. On the day of the shoot, the camera setup was done, and Chan invited the boys to come to the room. They were ready, and Chan reminded them to come prepared. Since there were cameras in the room, everyone was nervous about the shoot, but they cheered each other on and went to the room. They introduced their band to Seo-jun's parents, and they thought Brown Black was a rather unique name, but Chan was quite happy with this name, as when shortened, it could be written as Bubble in Korean. Min-jun introduced himself to the boys, and then Chan introduced Yoon-hai as his sister. The boys immediately remembered that she was the scary woman who had been screaming at the director earlier. Then they introduced themselves one by one. The boys thought Yoon-hai was really pretty, and she didn't look like the director at all. She also smiled and introduced herself properly. But there was another person supposed to be there, and she also arrived. Chan introduced her as the sister of their company's PR department head and a pediatrician, Dr. Kim Hwaryun. Yoon-hai suddenly became worried upon hearing about that. She asked Chan why he had to call a doctor for the shoot. Was there anything that wasn't safe for the baby? But Chan explained that for the next 48 hours, Seo-jun would be with complete strangers and without his family. It could be stressful, and having a doctor around would also help the parents stay confident. Yoon-hai was impressed and complimented her brother. She never thought that he could plan so thoroughly, but he admitted that it wasn't his plan. It came from Jin, and he just adopted it. Min-jun then asked the leader of the band to hold Seo-jun, and Jin was quite nervous, but Seo-jun was excited to be held by a new person. However, the way Jin was holding him was a bit uncomfortable, and he started to cry. Min-jun corrected his stance and told Jin the correct way to comfortably hold a baby. Seo-jun also felt a bit more comfortable now, and his mood improved even further. He started laughing, and the boys had no clue what to do next. They panicked and asked Chan why the baby was doing this. They even tried to get the doctor to see Seo-jun, thinking he was crying. However, Yoon-hae told them that was just laughing, and they were already in chaos. Chan thought the shoot was interesting right from the beginning, and that was good because they had already installed cameras before the boys came in. In addition, Dr. Kim was also shooting constantly. Chan was excited that they might get even better footage now, and asked Dr. Kim to pass the camera to him for a bit, but she was terrified as she tried to give it to Chan, and he asked her what was wrong. He immediately realized that he must appear really intimidating to her. Even though it happened all the time with him, Chan still felt awkward. Dr. Kim told him that she would take the camera later. Jin asked for her attention as Seo-jun was still laughing, and Jin was more nervous than ever. He asked her if this was safe, and Seo-jun laughed even louder. Kevin automatically switched to English, saying that something must be wrong if Seo-jun was laughing this much. He even asked if they could calm him down using some toys, but Chan was watching them from afar and realized that none of these boys had any experience with kids. He told them that Seo-jun was laughing because they were funny, and that was true. Seo-jun had never met funnier people than them. As he laughed, a tear trickled down his cheek. This tear took away the last piece of sanity from the boys, and they screamed that Seo-jun was crying. 10 minutes had passed, and the boys were already exhausted. As soon as Chan told them this, the boys were depressed to find out that it had only been 10 minutes. However, Yoon-hae told them that they had prepared something so that Seo-jun would get used to them soon. It was a book written by Yoon-hae and Min-jan that contained everything about Seo-jun. She told them about Seo-jun's routine, and then about playtime with dolls. But all of Seo-jun's toys, including the dragon and the orc, were in his parents' car right now. They couldn't risk bringing monster dolls to a program. Yoon-hae hoped that Seo-jun would be patient for 2 days. Jin told her that they had bought some dolls for Seo-jun, but Seo-jun knew that he couldn't be satisfied with normal dolls. Thus, he had one special doll, the teddy bear with a doppelganger inside, which was a gift from Hee-sang. Minjin told them the most important part. Seo-jun knew his mealtime really well, so they had to feed him before he started crying. Seo-jun was planning to cry if they were even a second late, and right now it was mealtime. Yoon-hae asked for any volunteers from the boys to feed Seo-jun, and 2 of them rushed to prepare hair baby food. But Jin and Kevin were shocked at how wrecked, listless the 2 were. They prepared baby food under Yoon-hae's guidance. In the meantime, Min-jun took Seo-jun to the remaining 2 boys. Seo-jun wanted them to hold him, but Jin said that Kevin was better for the task. A little later, Shiyun and Yejun had made the baby formula, and they returned. But they were shocked to find that Kevin had become a chair for Seo-jun, and Chan and Dr. Kim were helping him. Seo-jun was really enjoying his human chair, and everyone else laughed. The mealtime alarm rang, and after snoozing it, Kevin fed Seo-jun. Seo-jun immediately started eating, and the boys were amazed. But as Jin turned back to ask Yoon-hae what they should do next, he was shocked. Seo-jun's parents had just disappeared in one moment, but Chan smiled and told them that their 48 hours with Seo-jun had now started. They were shocked and expressed it as a collective scream. The previous evening, Min-jun and Yoon-hae had been noting down Seo-jun's routine, and it was quite simple, just eat, play, sleep, and repeat. But Yoon-hae said that it was not so simple for her. She had to find new ways to play with him, and lately, Seo-jun might have been getting bored with her half-hearted attempts to amuse him. Seo-jun was also listening to his mom complain, and he realized that he got caught. But Min-jun thought that since Seo-jun was going to meet a lot of new people the next day, it wouldn't be boring. And then there were idols who could sing and dance, so Seo-jun would stay entertained. Chan had told them that the boys had been training for a long time, and thus their skills were polished, but he felt they were missing something. Min-jun thought that everything would fall into place once the band got some real-life experience, and Seo-jun found something perfect for them in his life library. He had a skill that was perfect for music-related tasks. It was the orchestra conductor's connection, a skill of the lowest grade. But as Seo-jun learned the skill, he was reminded of a dark past in the room. The shooting started, and Jin had the mic for introductions, and Seo-jun was also impressed by his performance. He laughed laughed and clapped, and Jin said that Seojun was already enjoying it. He introduced Seojun as the main character of their program, and then Jin read details about Seojun. He told the viewers that Seojun was born on March 10th and was now 8 months old. He had 2 bottom teeth and loved playing with dolls. Jin said that the members of Brown Black should introduce themselves to Seojun and pass the mic to him. Jin introduced himself as the main vocalist of the group, but wondered if Seojun would understand him. He tried to explain that the main vocalist was someone who was very good at singing, but Seojun gave him a confused look. Jin accepted the fact that Seojun didn't know about his role, and everyone else started laughing at him. Then Yejin said that he should explain it more simply. He called himself the second best singer in the group, and then introduced Kevin and Cheon too. Shun asked Seojun if he would like to see his dance, and Chan said from behind the camera that there was no knee. Shun said that he would show it next time, and Seojun was really looking forward to it. But Chan was thinking that if anyone destroyed the household-like dynamic of the shoot, Yoon-hae would destroy him. The alarm rang, and it was Seojun nap time now as Jin went to bring a blanket. Kevin laid Seojun down on a mattress, and this was the chance Seojun was waiting for. He put his hands on Kevin's face as fast as he could, and the skill orchestra conductor's connection activated. Using this skill, the music skills of the people connected to the conductor could be raised by up to 1.3 times, depending on their connection to the skill user. Seojun could make a maximum of 4 connections, and that was exactly the number he needed it. The skill worked, but now Seojun was nervous. He only wanted to hold Kevin's face, but instead he slapped him hard. But Kevin was won over by this gesture. He thought that Seojun must really like him. Everyone was shocked as they saw this, and they rushed to see Seojun so that he could slap them too. Seojun slapped everyone, and the connections were established. Then the boys decided to see Seojun love ranking. Jin said that he was the first, and Kevin argued that he was hit first, but Yejin said that the slap imprint on his cheek was redder than his, and that meant Seojun put more love in his hit. Seeing them argue, Chan thought that he also wanted a slap. They decided, based on the redness of the slap mark, that Kevin was second, Shun was third, and Jin was dead last. But Jin said that he would not be defeated by it. This was just a first impression. He said that the love ranking would be decided on the last day, and by that time, he would be the first. Although the boys thought Jin looked weird for a moment, they instantly accepted the challenge. But Seojun had already fallen asleep, and the boys gathered around him. They saw that he was still smiling, which meant that he enjoyed being with them. The conductor's bond showed the bond between Seojun and those connected to him, and it also showed the sense of connection among the connected people themselves. Everyone had a bond of at least 60 points out of 75. Because both bonds were strong, their skills would improve in no time. Seojun thought that everything went well and fell asleep. In his sleep, he saw a dream of the life from which he got this skill. The center of all things was music, and the place where beautiful music never ended was the world of the spirits of music. All types of musical instruments were buried beneath the spirit tree, and with the nourishment from the instruments and the tree, the baton of the orchestra conductor was created. A girl walked towards the spirit of the conductor's baton and greeted him. She was the spirit of the clarinet, and she asked the conductor's baton about his practice. The music competition was to start in a few days, and the spirit of the clarinet was excited to see the skills of the spirit of the baton. This time, all musical spirits possessed 1 or 2 abilities, but the spirit of the baton had never told anyone about his true abilities. He had the skill orchestra conductor's connection, a skill of the highest grade, and he could improve the music skills of people connected to him by up to 10 times. The condition was to shake the hands of the target, and he could connect with 30 people at a time. The fate of the conductor was chosen at the time he was born from a fruit of the spirit tree, and if he had chosen to follow that path and built bonds with the members of the orchestra, he would have been able to create the greatest orchestra in the world. It would be an orchestra that would probably never be outmatched. But there was a dark twist to the tale. The spirit of the baton was a demon king. In his previous life, he had no memories of being a demon king. However, it still affected his nature. The spirit of the baton looked at people playing musical instruments and thought that a world that started and ended in music was so beautiful and yet so boring that he could not stand it. The violent and heartless nature of his past life still twisted his character, and the results of this were going to be disastrous. On the day of the music competition, the spirit of the baton shook hands. With everyone going to perform, one of the targets was the spirit of the drum, and his connection level was 41, which was quite high. The spirit of the drum had heard a lot about the baton and was glad to meet him. Next to him was the spirit of the piano. She told the spirit of the baton that even though they were on different teams, they should do their best. The spirit of the baton had also smiled, stating that he would await their magnificent performance. The music competition was an exceedingly significant event. Music was presented to the World Tree, also known as the Tree of Spirits, and this was done in honor of the new spirits that were soon to be born. This location was where only the finest music was played. As the first performance was on the verge of starting, the spirit of the baton pondered something. He questioned what would happen if, instead of a rise in relational bonds, there was a decrease. The spirit of the drum played his instrument quite well, but as the skill orchestra conductor's connection was applied, things began to go downhill. The spirit of the drum heard cruel words in his head, critiquing him harshly that his playing was substandard. These hurtful comments challenged his very identity as the spirit of the drum. They asserted that due to poor musicians like him, the entry criteria must be reconsidered, as these words shattered the spirit's self-esteem. His connection with the baton fell into negative territory. His performance worsened and everyone was astounded. They had always believed the spirit of the drum to be a talented individual, but his current performance was anything but. The spirit of the drum could clearly hear the crowd, and he knew they were all taken. He could sense that something was off with the conductor's baton. Yet this was just the beginning. The spirit of the baton started expressing strong contempt and scorn towards all the performers connected to him. They began to feel dark and disturbing emotions that they had never experienced before. And as their relational bonds fell, the quality of their performances declined as well. The audience started gossiping about how every team delivered a terrible performance, causing concern for the spirits yet to be born. However, hope still lingered. The conductor's baton and his team were yet to perform, and the spirits were confident they would not disappoint. But the spirit of the baton was shaking hands with the spirit of the violin. He told her that even though her skill was not well polished, they would still create a beautiful sound. She was the last connection the baton made that day. As the performance began, the contempt inside the baton's heart was revealed to the entire world. His bond with all the connected spirits began to shatter at once. They couldn't focus on their music due to the intense hatred being directed towards them. The spirit of the violin, however, noticed that the source of this deep malice was nearby. When she turned her gaze in the direction it was emanating from, she saw the spirit of the baton grinning like a madman. She was horrified and couldn't understand his reason for betrayal, but his actions had already had their effect. The tree of spirits started to wilt. Everyone cried out in terror, expressing that the tree was in pain and implored the orchestra to halt the performance. However, others argued that stopping midway would only exacerbate the situation. The spirit of the conductor's baton had laughed a malevolent laugh. His plans had borne fruit. The sound of the spirits panicking, the wilting of the world tree. This was the sound he relished, and he thought that since he had reveled in it, so he should conclude it in a similarly grand manner. He stopped, and then the spirit of the violin was horrified. Without the conductor's baton, the performance couldn't be completed, and this would harm the tree even further. By then, everyone had realized that the conductor was to blame. They rushed to stop him, but he had already ceased conducting and was now laughing maniacally as the spirits planned to bring him down. The baton mused that he looked forward to seeing how the world would change. Despite the cessation of the baton's conducting, the music didn't stop. Everyone was taken aback, but then they looked to the stage and found the sound was emanating from the spirit of the violin. She was in tears, but she continued playing the melody as she was supposed to. Her ability, basic skill of the violin had been activated thanks to the conductor being subdued. Now she could play under even unfavorable conditions and correct her mistakes. There was no better time to utilize this skill than the present. The conductor's baton screamed at her to stop immediately, but she kept on playing. New life entered the Tree of Spirits thanks to her poignant music. In the face of adversity, the spirit tree barely survived, and the instigator of the event, the conductor's baton, was accused of treason. For the first time in the history of spirits, someone was executed. This was the one thing Seo-jun wanted to forget his dark past. He awoke crying because he had once again dreamt about it. When he discovered the skill in the library, he was shocked. He wondered how it could be here. The power had almost devastated an entire world, and in its original state of depravity, It could have transformed into a dark skill. But the Tree of Spirits had mustered all its strength to protect this skill, even though its rank was lowered. Seojun thought that the tree had saved this skill, even though he had nearly destroyed it, and for that he was genuinely remorseful. He awoke crying and kicking, wondering why his past self had committed such cruel acts. But the boys found him, and they wondered why he was crying. They thought Seojun was hungry, but he was just sad and ashamed of his past life. However, the boys still prepared food for him. Reluctantly, he ate a spoonful, despite consuming it absent-mindedly. Seojun felt better. He thought the food tasted quite good, and perhaps he had had the nightmare because he was hungry. Seojun began to laugh, and everyone now wanted to feed him, thereby increasing his bond with them. Dr. Kim left that night, telling Jin and the others to call her if they needed her help. But it had been an exhausting day for them too. Jin thought that all they needed to do now was get Seojun to fall asleep, but Seojun was eagerly looking at them. He was having too much fun and couldn't sleep. The boys were now worried as it was 30 minutes past bedtime and Seojun was still awake edge and suggested they should do something. They had been practicing for 3 days to perform in a situation like this. Everyone agreed, and on the count of 2, they started singing. As they began singing, the skill orchestra conductors connected